So on the topic of wholesaling, the reason it is the best strategy right now, it's because it's the only strategy in real estate that's universal. What I mean by that, the market's flat, the market's going up, the market's going down, it doesn't matter. Wholesaling always works. Now, the reason it's the best strategy right now at times like this, when the market's choppy, there's risk involved, what wholesaling does is takes the risk off the table. So let's think about that for a second. If you're buying a property and you're going to fix it up and then you're going to sell it, you've now taken on several areas of risk. You've got ownership risk. You've got lender risk because now you got to pay the lender, right? You've got debt on the asset. You've got property preservation and those kind of risks. You have risk of breaking in, risk of something going wrong with the house. You now have market risk because the longer you own it in a risky market, the more potential it has of going down in value. You've got construction risk. Contractors, just like everybody else, when the economy's down, they're scrambling for money. You pay them their money, they're gone, they never show up on site. So you got construction risk. You got budget risk, which means you think the project's going to cost 50 and it costs 80. Then on top of that, you got resale risk, where you think it's worth 300. And even if the market doesn't dip, you got your comps wrong. I apologize here. Is that loud, by the way, what's happening outside? So hopefully it's not. Anyway, you got resale risk. So if you get your exit price wrong, you think it's going to sell at 300 and sells at 250, you lose your shirt. So I say all that because when you compare that to wholesaling, wholesaling is about acquisitions. You've literally narrowed your entire focus down to one thing. And acquisitions in our world is finding the right kind of seller with enough equity that needs to sell. So you're looking for distress. You're looking for ability to sell. The ability to sell is that they don't owe more than what the property's worth. So you want to chase equity. And then you want some kind of distress, like a sale, some death, divorce, code enforcement issues. I mean, these are some low-hanging fruit. Now, when we talk about layering, you find someone out of state, so they're not living in the property, someone died, and there's code enforcement issues, and there's a foreclosure. Now you got the unicorn. The reason being is they have to sell. Their option is they lose it, they sell it to you, or they sell it to your competition. And I love those kind of deals. Why? Because now you've narrowed your odds down to almost 50-50, or even a worst case scenario, 1 in 3. And so that's why it's important. You understand how to find the right properties. And really the business we're in, it's not about the property. If you can imagine, the property is the widget. That's what we use to move our profit. And in fact, if you're wholesaling, you're not even moving a house. This is the crazy part. You're flipping a piece of paper, right, Delmar? It's literally a piece of paper. It's an assignment. It's insane. When this world was opened up to me, the reason I'm so passionate about this, I lost my ass, just like Delmar did, 2007, 2008. The difference is, and I say this because he's already said it, he went into shutdown mode, literally for a couple of years, and bankruptcy will do that to you. And I recognize I would have headed down the same path of Delmar if I filed bankruptcy. So I fought. There's 2 things I did, and I think this is key right now because a lot of you are probably feeling like I was 11 years ago. So I really want you to pay attention on the 2 things I did. The problems in front of me, which by the way was a mountain, it was about a $3 million mountain back in 2008. So I said, there's 2 things I need to do. I need to reduce that problem. And I did that through short sales and negotiating debt. So that was one thing I did, which is basically proactively dealing with the problem. It's really hard to move forward if you ignore this massive problem, right? So there's 2 things I did. One, I said, I'm going to put a plan in place to short sell these properties, negotiate my unsecured debt, and get out of this hole. But the second thing, this is what my mentor told me. I remember I met with my mentor, Bumper, guy with more life experience than you know, maybe not the richest guy in the world, but also a guy who'd been to hell and back, a guy who has all sorts of life experience, got on the wrong side of the law, got back out, was an alcoholic, got over that. I mean, so I really respect his life experience. And I sat down with Bumper and I said, Bumper, I lost everything. I said, I'm now upside down, a couple $1 million. What are you going to do? And he said, son, pay attention to this. You sell your way out of it. And I said, okay. So I said, well, what do I need to do? He goes, you got to do deals. He goes, you've got this massive problem. The only way you're going to get out of, reduce this massive problem is 1, dealing with the debt, but 2, you got to make money. So the fundamental change for me is that I said, okay, I have to make money. It goes back to what Delmar was saying about that mindset. So I determined I'm going to sort out my problem on the one side. I'm going to focus on revenue. So I looked around and I realized something really key at that time. There's always money in real estate. Number one, pay attention. There's always money in real estate. The big key is what side of the deal you on. I was a rehabber buying from wholesalers, adding value and losing money. On the very same transaction, the wholesaler made 10, 20,000 off the back of me. So the only change I had to make is go from being a rehabber to a wholesaler. That's why I'm passionate about this topic. That one change on top of in the background dealing with my debt made me go from a couple $1 million upside down to wiping out my debt and making $1 million in a year. That's pretty cool, right? To flip your situation like that in 12 months, but it's massive action on the right thing. It's focus. I wasn't trying to do 20 things in real estate. I wasn't trying to build a rental portfolio. I wasn't trying to flip houses and rehab them. I was focused on one thing, which was wholesaling.